Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with Nasscom Insights. I am Vandhna Babu, Principal Analyst, Engineering R&D at Nasscom Insights. Joining me today are three very special guests from the engineering R&D and consulting space. On behalf of Nasscom Insights, I would like to welcome Kunaal Mahanti from Wipro Engineering, Vikram Puranik from GlobalLogic, Keerthi Kumar from Deloitte India. Kunal is General Manager and Global Practice Head for Cloud Security and Embedded Software with Wipro Engineering. He brings nearly 23 years of industry experience in technology, business, and sales leadership across software, hardware, and Industry 4.0. He has held leadership roles in engineering, sales, and business strategy in a wide range of industries, including high tech, manufacturing, retail, and BFSI. In addition to leading the Wipro Engineering's cloud, security, and embedded software engineering practices, he also leads Wipro Engineering's cloud ecosystem, cutting across engineering and Industry 4.0, and is jointly responsible for Wipro Engineering's strategy as well. In his previous roles, he has led M&A integration for ITI and incubated Wipro's engineering consulting business, helping clients on platform development, digital manufacturing, IoT, and Industry 4.0. Kunal holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering from Bangalore University, and he's based in the greater Chicago area. Vikram is Vice President, Engineering and Head of Consumer Communications and Media at GlobalLogic India. A seasoned leader with over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry, he is widely recognized for his deep expertise in scaling organizations, offshore development centers, and independent business units. At GlobalLogic, Vikram leads the business units that focus on edtech, retail, communication and media, NEP and telecom. Vikram is an entrepreneurial leader and possesses a unique blend of technology, operations, and business skills. With high caliber and software architecture and hands-on approach in complex program management, he has successfully driven engineering strategy for Fortune 500 clientele. He has showcased a strong track record in transforming and scaling delivery portfolios to new levels. His areas of expertise include large-scale complex program management, P&L, operations, and people supply chain, digital technologies including cloud, DevOps, advanced analytics in medtech and healthcare, telecom, and media. Vikram is a firm believer in building and driving autonomous teams and has demonstrated his abilities in supervising and leading teams in digital technologies. He's also a passionate leader, people leader, mentor, and has helped individuals transform their careers. Prior to joining GlobalLogic, Vikram was associated with InfoStretch, a digital engineering services company owned by Goldman Sachs, where he was working as Vice President, Head of India Delivery and Operations. Vikram is an avid reader, music lover, and a sports and history enthusiast. Keerthi is a seasoned GCC, that is Global Capabilities Centers, professional in the strategy and business design practice in Deloitte Consulting and carries over 17 years of management consulting experience. He has successfully helped various global clients by leading end-to-end strategy, location assessment, operating model design, setup, and optimization of multifunctional global business service centers in India, Africa, and Latin America. Functions include R&D, IT, finance, SCM, and other business functions. Keerthi also leads the innovation service offering within the practice. As a strong advocate of co-creation, Keerthi also helps his clients catalyze the process of innovation through open innovation techniques by working closely with the local startup system. He also partners with an industry forum to enable the open innovation platform that helps corporates and startups to work together. He started his consulting career focused on sourcing advisory, helping clients outsource their non-core functions to third-party providers, and fronting ITO and BPO contract negotiations on behalf of his clients. Keerthi carries his rich global experience covering US, LATAM, EU, Africa, and Indian markets. He primarily focuses on auto, CPG, retail, and financial services sector. So good morning everyone and welcome gentlemen to this webinar. So
Thanks.
so today's topic of discussion, of course, is digital engineering, as we all know. And, we have witnessed post-pandemic that there has been a drastic increase in digital adoption, within companies. And they have also reorganized their processes and businesses to be more robust and agile and also, adaptive to emerging technologies. So we have also seen, through Nasscom research, we have seen that the share of digital engineering in the overall ER&D revenue, it currently stands between 28 to 30%, and it is expected to grow as high as 50% in the coming years. So, Keerthi, I want to start with you that since you've been a part and very closely associated with the report that Nasscom and Deloitte together created on digital engineering. So, can you share that while preparing this report, how did you come to define digital engineering? And also, can you also share some drivers, key drivers for the adoption of digital engineering by companies? And specifically, why did you focus on these four sectors in your report on BFSI, healthcare, CPG, and retail?
Sure. Thank you, Vandhna. Firstly, thank you for having me in for this panel. I'll break this question into four parts. I think let's start with how we are defining digital engineering, because I mean that's one overly used term across sectors. Right. So when we started, our attempt was to say that, okay, let's kind of contour and define digital engineering, right? And the simplest way that we wanted to put this out was to say that any conventional traditional engineering that is being enabled and powered through a host of emerging technologies, right? Say some kind of a platform engineering on cloud, right? And with the core objective of like any digital transformation initiative would lead to, digital engineering is engineering that would provide insights, that would provide agility, and that would provide experience, right? Now, this could be for the end products itself or the means to the end products, right? Both for the operations within for organizations and equally for the products as well, right? And of all, I think one big thing that digital engineering brings in a new lens to conventional engineering is a fundamental change in the business model of how do we get our products servicized, if I can use that term, right? On say devices on a subscription based model, right? So that's the fundamental shift that we see that's coming out of digital engineering. And why digital engineering? I think you kind of covered that in this part of your introduction. One interesting thing that we see, just to put numbers in perspective. So our ER&D industry in India is about $36 billion, right? With a 12% of CAGR. And you spoke about the 28 to 30% share being digital engineering that's expected to go to 50 to 60%. Interestingly, the digital engineering CAGR is about 20%, which is significantly higher than the overall industry CAGR itself, right? And with our dream of the $100 billion to get to in the near future, I think digital engineering will be one of the major proponents that would kind of propel this growth, right? And now coming to drivers, and then I'll come to your last question on why these sectors, right? So drivers, we can look at it in two ways, right? The fundamental two philosophies. One is, changing customer behavior. The Gen Zs and millennials, the way in which they buy, the pattern and the behavior associated with buying, say, a product, or more like a service associated with a product, that being an expectation. But equally also, I think there is that other philosophy of, how some of these emerging technologies are kind of putting that, the art of possible, if I may say, in terms of how customers can even buy, right? So that convergence of technology and business, we see that as one of the primary drivers for digital engineering. And alongside, say, time to market, the innovation cycles crashing, I think there is a need to do things faster, right? And especially when we look at it from an R&D organization's lens in the global headquarters, the constant struggle of doing more with same or doing with less continues, right? And digital engineering is one of the ways to essentially drive some of these objectives. And your last question, so whenever we talk ER&D, I think the usual sectors that come up is the auto manufacturing, industrial, say oil and gas, and so on, right? And we almost went to name this report as the unusual suspects of growth in digital engineering, right? And I think rightfully so. And this also came up in one of the Nasscom roundtables. that even revenue of digital engineering from these sectors, BFSI, healthcare, retail, and CPG, not all organizations account it as digital engineering. It will be good to get anyway Kunal and Vikram's views on that. But I think especially these sectors, technology is becoming a strategic advantage, right? And we see in many of our clients also talking about we want to be fundamentally a technology company who's also in the business of banking, or say who's also in the business of CPG or retail goods, right? Um, so hence, while we had the Pulse survey that covered all of the traditional sectors, we wanted to do a deep dive specifically on these four sectors and bring that in the forefront, so that going forward, I think across the sector, when I say sector, the GCCs as well as the engineering service providers, there is more dedicated focus on these four sectors.
Great, great. Thanks for sharing that. Wonderful insight as well given by you. So, Kunal, now moving, pivoting to you. So, for Wipro, what are some of the imperatives or priorities you undertake while, building digital products? So, is it either what is the business case? Is it collaborating with startups? Is it product security? What do you want to highlight with respect to that?
Yeah, I think this is a fast, and I think Keerthi uh, kind of put that in time to market, right? It's a fast evolving technology landscape, and there's lots to keep up with. So while you kind of look at the aspects as you mentioned, I think there are three broad imperatives which I think highlight everything that needs to happen. I think ecosystem is a key mantra, right? It's ecosystem, ecosystem, ecosystem. It's about collaboration and shared experiences. I think you cannot live in silos. Whether you're building digital products or components thereof, you have to be able to share those experiences within the peer community itself. So I think that's kind of important. Um, Integrations and open platforms. You are there's only so much that you can do by design, and a lot of things happen by default, and it happened by default because you've shared the platform. You have tapped into a much larger ecosystem where you're able to leverage that to find ideas which are not apparent when you actually started on your journey. So I think having integrations and having open platforms, I think is imperative. Finally, you move fast because you want to capture market, but then you give up something that moving fast. And we term it as a lot of different types of debt, but we call it cloud debt, and you're looking at architectural debt, automation debt. So being able to have a flexible, scalable, resilient architecture, you can implement the technology however you want. I think that's required to quickly unlock the value of the innovation that you're doing, because innovation is still happening in your R&D shop. You need to get it to the market to actually make money on that one. So I think beyond things like security and startups and leveraging technology, I think that fundamentally collaboration, shared experiences, open platforms, and then scalable, flexible architectures. I think that underpins digital products. Be it only the software or the more difficult one is the combination of hardware and software and some of the connected equipment and devices which you look at.
Great. Yeah, completely agree. Thanks, Kunal. Vikram, for GlobalLogic, now, what impact do you think, have these digital products or offerings they have helped achieve, from an end user or a consumer perspective? So, what can you share regarding that?
Sure. So I will talk with examples, and I think Kunal and Keerthi have done a good job of setting the context of digital, right? Uh, Very simple way of looking at the evolution of things for customers. In the age-old world, you will say move from system of record to system of engagement to system of intelligence. So I'll give you a couple of examples of customer, how engaging customers into system of engagement and intelligence has enhanced their insight into their own business, right? So we had one large telecom company. They have digital channels of engagement and acquiring new customers, including their website and their mobile app and so on and so forth. They were worried about why they were not able to scale the digital channel and why are people still coming to the stores, adding to their operational overheads, right? So we looked at their websites and apps, and a simple thing like upgrade a phone, right? Or upgrade to a new and a better plan. We looked at those two experiences, right? A simple thing like I have to upgrade a phone. I have to enter what my current phone is so that I can get an incremental dollar value of what do I pay to upgrade a phone. They had to choose a drop down box with 2000 list of 2000 list of devices, which is their to choose their current device, and they are doing this from their own device. So the system lacked the context in which the user would log in and by then quickly be able to give them the value of their current device versus what is the delta that they have to pay and so on. So since we brought in the context, we brought in the engagement and the intelligence, their experience to upgrade a plan or compare a existing plan, and the system has to know what the existing plan is once the user logs in because the context is available, was so simple, right? We're talking of telcos which are considered to be slow moving in the digital bandwagon, as Keerthi said, right? Unlike industries. I'll talk about another unlike industry, the healthcare industry, where is known to be a slow moving asset, right? Imagine COVID kind of situation and 70% of the hospitals in North America still use the pager technologies for doctors and caregivers to interact on an emergency response, right? The challenge with pager technology is that the customer context and data, what are the, okay, the person has come for emergency, what is the medication he's taking? What do his lab reports look like was missing, right? So we, of course, enabled it on mobile, and healthcare is, of course, finicky about patient data information and so on. So we were able to build secure communication and collaboration channel for caregivers, enriching the end customer experience, and a critical thing like patient emergency response could be transformed. So think of talking about customer experience and think of delivering this in these two use cases, right? So those are just two examples which will, I think, help underline the point.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. So Keerthi, based on this report, obviously we have now witnessed from all the speakers here that everyone has, has undergone this digital transformation. So, where does India stand here? So what, can you share the rationale for the push from the headquarters of the companies for leveraging India for digital engineering?
Yeah, so we conducted a global pulse survey among R&D leaders earlier this year, right? So about 100 odd companies participated from 19 countries. So, I mean, as global as it can get, and mostly R&D leaders responding, right? So we had these some of these questions, one in terms of where are you looking to prioritize your investments in the future? One, right? And there are a few areas, and of course, these are mostly the traditional sectors. So of course, Industry 4.0 stood out, right? And in the top 5. There were also aspects around, improving ER&D productivity, right? Which is more optimizing ER&D operations, reducing cost and so on, and also globalizing the ER&D footprint. Interestingly, about 70% plus of those organizations had adopted a global delivery model. And not so surprisingly, about 70% of that 70% or over 70%, in fact, had some form of operations in India, either through centers or through engineering service providers, right? So that's when we asked this question around how would you want to leverage your center going forward and for what, right? So that's where aspects of digital engineering related skills, scaling of those skills from India as a location actually stood out as one of the top reasons. So this is just to, from a demand market perspective, to put things in perspective, right? And second, there was also some research that we did where we started looking at cross-sectorally. In the last 5 years, R&D as a percentage of the top line revenue itself, has that been changing or has the growth been more secular? And when we look at across sectors and across companies, what we noted was that the R&D as a percentage of the top line doesn't change, right? So the R&D budgets are largely driven by the top line fluctuations and the added bottom line, pressure and challenges that organizations typically face. So the growth has been secular. So that constant struggle of need to do more with same or less resources still continues. I think these are some of the primary drivers that we see. I mean, why India as a location could be leveraged. Right. And needless to say, of course, the digital skills, the scale at which it is available, right? So I think the value part has always been very clear. I think the volume part is very clear. I think the value part is where there is some way to go for us, I think, as a location. So I think these are some of the primary drivers why we think the organizations typically would want to look at India, right? And added to that, if we bring in, say, the startup ecosystem angle with the third largest ecosystem that we have, and the collaboration point that Kunaal was talking about, I think organizations are also looking beyond point interventions and looking at where these ecosystems typically thrive. And I think that's another place where I think India also as a location shines.
Great. Yeah, that's really insightful. Thanks, Keerthi. So, the next question is both for Kunaal and Vikram that I wanted to ask was that, what are, I know Vikram had already shared some of the use cases, but is there any other, are there any some of the use cases in your company which you are specifically involved with respect to digital products? Whether leveraging India or outside as well. So something that is very close to your heart. So if Kunaal, you could go first.
Yeah, and I think we're covering three broad sectors. From a banking perspective, obviously, from Wipro is deeply invested, right? I mean, almost 40% of our revenues come from that sector. We've got some large acquisitions in the space to support that. So digital strategy, bank as a service, you're talking about everything as a service, right? Open banking, digital payments. I think that's some of the areas where we're focused on. A good example, I think, is where we really helped a company set up a fully digital bank in 12 months, driving through the business, brand, service design, to the multi-channel experience. So essentially the end-to-end of a bank, which helped them stand that up. So that's a very good example where we leveraged our design capabilities and our engineering capabilities. We're talking about health, and the health use cases, connected care management, digital or telemedicine, regulatory and compliance. We heard how slow that market is. And one of the things which holds them back is regulatory and compliance to get there. So I think those are some of the health use cases. And recently we helped somebody build an end-to-end patient monitoring and insights workflow. The provider have all these machines which are monitoring critical and vital signs on the bedside, but that information doesn't really get to the provider in real time. So that collaborative health is a good example of a digital transformation for a hospital or a healthcare setting. From a CPG retail perspective, I think both are kind of struggling with the whole omni-channel experience. Distribution and logistics is a big one, specifically from a last mile. I think that is an important use case. And product and pricing analytics is another area where they're trying to, because competition is so stiff. So from a CPG perspective, I think IT/OT transformations is a big one to digitalize operations. To make sure that the decision making is more dynamic, and that's why we helped one of our large packaged food customers do that and get real-time analytics on what should they actually be producing in response to what the market demands are, because they're in the packaged food industry. Another example is for a large retailer where we looked at their stores and streamlined, the collaboration within the store. You need to get merchandise moving faster to compete with online channels. So you have to really reimagine the store itself, the design of that, the operations of that, and all of that comes through a digital platform which you put together. So I think those are some of the examples, across these three sectors or four sectors, which stand out, and the use cases are varied. I think, but if you look at the underpinning technologies, automation, RPA, and digital transformation of their applications, modernization, and all that stuff. So that's the underpinning. But what they really are going after is quite varied in these industries.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. So, Vikram, any other use cases that you want to share in which you're closely involved and that's close to your
Looks like
heart?
I have a lot of use cases like questions, but good. See, at GlobalLogic, we are a digital native player, so obviously we get to do digital and only digital, right? So another interesting fact I want to add to what Keerthi said is in Nasscom context, especially is, at GlobalLogic India, we are not like the default, delivery center or offshore location. We compete within GlobalLogic for our share of pie with the global talent that is available at GlobalLogic's and Hitachi's disposal. Right now, coming to use cases, I think Kunaal emphasized on the open architecture and open API and open source and so on and so forth. Right, we see a great emphasis on that. For example, open banking and open API standards in banking. A bank who would think of them as a silo is now integrating with the world outside. So we see a lot of implementations around that. Healthcare is now talking of FHIR as a standard evolving from HL7, and we're talking of interoperability across those lines. And those are some of the major transformational use cases where, while you avoid vendor lock-in from hospitals' perspective, there is a lot of interoperability that can happen across ecosystem of healthcare, providers as well as the payers, right? On the CPG retail side, simple things, right? We do a lot of work with pets and pet commerce and those kind of use cases. So one of the interesting things is you are a provider for pet services, right? But can you connect to pharmacies and be a single step for pet caregiving services, and also allow them to complete the experience by being able to shop for medicines, etc., prescriptions. There is an interesting world where you have to go authorize your pet medicines, which could take a 5-day delay for you to get to move from prescription to fulfillment, and which we helped one of our customer automate. So the themes that are common are open APIs, allowing collaboration and integration with the outside world, adapting to open standards, be it FHIR, be it Open RAN in the telecom world, and using open source technologies, using cloud, using no locking of cloud agnostic architectures. So those are the underpinning technologies and the use cases that is for.
Great, thanks for that insight. Thanks a lot, Vikram. So, Keerthi, during the preparation of the report, you have also interviewed many other companies as well, in addition to GlobalLogic and Wipro. So, what other examples could you also see, with respect to digital products?
Yeah, I think Kunaal and Vikram kind of covered it well, but let me go sector by sector. So Banking, financial services, and insurance, I think there are, I mean, the way we look at it, where our clients do it is in two parts. One is what's called the service layer, where essentially operations touches the customers, right? So I think peopleless banking, branching, touchless banking. So that's the neobanks part of it. And a lot of it within the service operations itself, right? That's the host of technologies coming in, and especially I think mostly deep learning powered tech, I would say. Credit decisioning, lending related decisions, customer profiling, risk profiling, and so on is another area. I think what stands out in BFSI, because we were really going after, are there some hardware, software convergence related use cases? I think convergence in insurance and financial services stood out, right? Especially auto insurance. I think we're also beginning to see that in India in terms of pay as you go. Right, and your premium based on driving behavior and so on through telematics. That is one. And within insurance, I think there are some use cases, I think early stages, but drone-based surveillance and inspection for insurance claims. Right, so a couple of things that I would just add to the list. And I think healthcare, I think both of them covered it fairly well. On the manufacturing side of healthcare, I think additive manufacturing and biosensors and bioprinting apparently also is an area where there's a lot of traction seen, right? It reminds me of Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus, also a bit scary on one side, but I think there is quite a bit of action on that front also. And of course, the IoT devices, connected hospitals, remote monitoring, connected pharmacies, I think the use cases Kunaal and Vikram anyway spoke about. I think that's where most of the traction is. And on CPG and retail, I think two fronts. One is the storefront related, right? Your customer behavior, your merchandising, inventory, automated minimum order quantity, and so on. So those aspects in, and even I think on the operations side, I think warehouse automations, robotic aids coming in some of those places, drone equally within warehouses too, right? To take stock count and stock audit for the finance organization of these clients. I think that, I think that kind of sums it up, at least in terms of areas where we see. I think track and trace is the fundamental theme. Connected factories, smart factories. I think making devices talk to each other. I think that's where CPG retail is, at least as we see, putting most of their investments efforts.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, all three of you have covered like the entire, gamut of the whole thing. So thank you so much. And Kunal, now you and Vikram both have talked about collaborations that you've, undertaken for building these digital products. So Kunal, starting with you, what kind of collaborations have you seen or do you do within Wipro? And if you any examples that you want to share?
Yeah, I think obviously collaboration is everywhere. For us at Wipro, obviously, collaborations with large ISVs, CSPs, and startup ecosystem is a big one. And we do fund through our ventures arm some of the key technologies that we believe are germane to our digital needs. So I think the collaboration which we kind of have some with academia, but a lot through our ventures ecosystem and our acquisitions. So I think those are two aspects where we kind of put money into technology. In addition to that, I think we also through some of our platforms such as Homes and our Cloud Studio, we also have an umbrella of AI and ML pieces which can fit into a platform, and then we kind of use that umbrella to build in components from various parts of the ecosystem, and also transformational tools and technologies which go into our studio. So I'd say that it's a very vast and vibrant ecosystem, and we kind of use 3-4 umbrellas to kind of have that collaboration going under either our Homes platform, as I said, or our ventures in our studio. I think one key area where we are seeing good amount of traction, especially in the industries we talked about, is in the industry stacks which we are working with for the along with the hyperscaler service providers, etc. Health, for example, is one of the areas where we are very keenly collaborating in one of these spaces around our connected care platform. lot of antiquated, which we'd say, or slow moving processes. You require a specific industry solution there. So I think that's where we are seeing most of our collaboration coming from, and our investments in there.
Great, thanks, Kunal. Vikram, if you want to share, some collaborations that you're undertaking, yeah.
Sure, yes. And I'll bring out a little different aspect of collaboration. Of course, hyperscalers and partnerships with infrastructure and framework companies for collaboration, etc., is very well known, right? One thing that GlobalLogic has done very well is collaboration with private equities. Right. If you look at where the transformation is happening and who is investing and leading it, it is the private equity people who are leading it. We've worked with large private equities, to provide them an offering to help them do their digital tech transformation for the tech ISVs especially. And tech ISVs is our strong point, where investments happen into transforming products and platforms and take them to next level. So, GlobalLogic is not just working with the tech ISV, it is working with the parent, private equity, understand, the key pain points, challenges, management objectives behind the transformation, etc., tied at the hip with the investor to help the tech ISV, enable transformation. So that's one different aspect of collaboration, which we have mastered fairly successful in that. The other aspect of collaboration is Hitachi, right? A year back we acquired, we have Hitachi as our parent now, and Hitachi brings in a lot of OT, the operational technology and IT. We talk of OT and IT, and how do we collaborate with Hitachi on energy, EVs, automotive? We spoke about Industry 4.0, to really connect OT and IT to enable that Industry 4.0 use cases and so on and so forth. That is another thing, which we've sort of done a lot. Third thing is collaboration for talent, right? Be it academia, be it early school providers in terms of talent, and how do we generate more and more digital talent. So while we speak about the upstream in terms of connecting with customers and providing them connected ecosystem, it is also very important downstream to build the right level of digital talent, especially in context of us competing with global digital talent. So those are the things I could think of in terms of collaborations that are key.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much. So, Vikram, you have talked about the talent right now, just now. So do you run any upskilling or reskilling programs, training programs specifically to grow this digital engineering talent within your own company?
Absolutely. I mean, it is not optional anymore, right? I think the gap between demand and supply and the great resignations and the talent war, and there's a lot of literature being generated for it. So you cannot not bake your own bread, right? It is an imperative. And GlobalLogic today has 20 plus academies to upskill its talent in various dimensions, right? So, for example, microservices is a very, omnipresent architecture in all these cloud digital transformations. You'll have to train a Java J2E engineer, upskill them on microservices and humble things like those. You need full stack and hybrid skills in the digital world, with DevSecOps kicking up, being an integral part of your development cycles. So there is a lot of talent upgrade that has happened in DevSecOps, which is an important imperative. We call it Ascent program or Talent 2.0, where we are, we want to ensure between 10 to 20% of our talent every year is built and not bought.
Wow, wonderful. Uh, and Kunal, in case if you want to share some specific, reskilling or upskilling training programs for the digital engineering talent.
Yeah, look, I mean, we are in the business of talent generation, grassroots. Wipro has been at it for 35, 40 years now.
Yes.
We have always believed that we need to be a grassroots talent organization, and as Vikram put it, that we want to build and not buy. I mean, that's really been our mantra. So upskilling and cross-skilling and building multifaceted full stack engineers is one of the key focus of our learning and development teams and our practices. So our academies are run at a central level, but also at a practice level. For example, for my practices, I run academies and train folks. We see 2 to 3 programs being launched every week, inviting people to participate and join and get certified in some of these things. Not only that, we have both, through our acquisition of Topcoder, an ability to kind of scale outside the organization, but now we're using that same model within our organization to get all of our 250,000 people onto an internal crowd. So you don't know where talent lies, and it's not about always being able to upskill everybody, but you don't know where people are sitting. For example, we are now focused on gaming, and we're having a game jam. And we said, okay, fine, let's just, instead of kind of training people, let's see how many people are interested. And within 24 hours of opening that up, we had 500 people who wanted to join up to develop games. So, I mean, it's very powerful to have, something like that. And now whom you can target, whom you can train. So it's a big thing. It's over the last maybe 10 odd years, we have been the source of a lot of talent of the industry. We've been pushed the hell out of, but now I think everybody's realizing that pain. So we're all in the same boat. But I think companies which will take on the mantle of developing talent, because it's not easy, right? It's a lot of investment, and therefore for us it's very clear. We will focus on getting people in from campuses, train them. If you have seen some of the things that we've been doing for the last 3, 4, or this year, we are promoting people every quarter at the junior bands and every half year at the senior bands. And that's just to make sure that we can create that pull for talent to grow and upskill and be recognized for it, rather than keeping on band-aiding from outside.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing that. And now segueing a little bit towards another topic, Kunal, I wanted to ask that currently now, what are the focus areas for you at Wipro Engineering across the digital engineering value chain in the company?
Yeah. I think it's become synonymous now, engineering, digital engineering, and whatever that is. So for us, obviously, when we look at engineering and the wider ecosystem that we have as as the ideas organization within Wipro, digital strategy and experience is where we start with. Obviously, there's the whole modernization of software and transformation. But in addition to that, digital manufacturing, model-based enterprise, and the digital fabric, which kind of enables the OT and IT stuff. AI and data engineering is another big one, especially combined with our homes capability, where we have built that platform over a significant number of years, is a focus. And then, emerging stuff around, the metaverse word, right? So, but really for us, Web 3.0, NFT, blockchain, 5G, XR, these are all the things that will enable some of that. And those are really, the things that we are kind of focused on from an engineering perspective, and it kind of helps us because we are a chip to cloud shop, right? We can build the chips which are required, enable the technologies, and then connect them back and help them getting manufactured and produced. So I think those are the things that we are kind of focused on this digital engineering value chain. And it's interesting because that digital engineering value chain means so many things to so many people, and I think. So I quoted it saying that, okay, let's talk about software engineering, mechanical engineering, etc. But I think those are the areas where all our skills are kind of getting deployed.
Yeah, absolutely. Vikram, your thoughts and on what are the focus areas across that digital engineering value chain at GlobalLogic?
So yeah, I think Kunal spoke about it all, right? The enabler, as Keerthi also said earlier, is the digital technology, right? And it consists of advanced analytics, on the experience side, augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse. So all those things are pretty well known in terms of what technology enables the digital value chain. I also want to talk about how Hitachi and GlobalLogic is looking at disrupting the value chain. For us, the key theme is social innovation, right? In all these industry segments that we spoke about, that we are talking about today, including CPG, retail, healthcare, banking, right? Look at healthcare and the problem of the wastage of health, the waste that this industry creates between healthcare and retail. What is the social nuisance that gets created out of it, right? Are we looking at are we looking at creating a better sustainable world around this? So we are looking at a larger theme of sustainability in each of this industry, and it's not in silos, right? When you talk of social innovation, the entire value chain has to sort of connect to deliver social innovation. So for us, the larger theme of social innovation in the ecosystem is very important. Of course, another thing we spoke about customers, right? And one of the things that we have differentiated ourselves is design-led digital engineering. So we're not just talking about delivering transformational initiatives on operational efficiencies, etc. It all starts with how do you design and convert your products into that services thing that Keerthi spoke about, right? How do you servicize everything? How do you design those services? How do you design, the offerings and change the revenue and business model along with those services? So GlobalLogic participates with its customers right at the top, helping them transform how they look at their business and services, and then the entire value chain and ecosystem around that, right? So those are the key differentiators. And then the third thing is Kunal spoke about these technologies that enable digital, right? Now each of these technology in isolation is takes a lot of work to integrate with each other. So what GlobalLogic is also looking at is how do we provide our customers the chassis to reduce the time in the entire ecosystem and enable them to do faster, whether it is microservices accelerator, where it is our DevSecOps accelerator, which we call Open Engine. So how do you build those basic building blocks, which should be provided to our customer as given, so that we only focus on experience, the system of engagement and system of analytics. So that's how we look at the overall value chain and ecosystem.
Great, great.
Just one point before we move on.
Yeah.
I think sustainability is a big one. I think as software engineers, we should also look at sustainability and the cost of code. Nobody talks about writing green code, but being an old C++ engineer, I think time to go back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we trying to run ourselves out of our jobs doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Completely agree with both of you gentlemen. So, Keerthi, in addition to what Kunal and Vikram have shared, have you seen other focus areas as well while we were, undergoing the research across the four sectors that you've covered in the report?
No, I think it was very well covered. In fact, love the point that Vikram made on social innovation and sustainability. I think even in the Pulse survey, that stands in the top 5. Right. And interestingly, organizations also saying that even for developing sustainable products and driving circular economy, India is a location to be leveraged. So I think it's all coming well together.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Wonderful to hear that. Coming to the last question of this discussion that we have. So, what challenges do you, face as a company while digitally transforming, your processes and products, and also while you are enabling, helping your customers undergo this journey? What challenges do you also face? So, Vikram, if you could, kindly shed some light on that.
Sure. See, and the challenges are again well known and documented, but I'll talk about some of them, right? So it all looks fancy, digital technologies, lot of enablers, etc. But you're working with teams, you're working with people to do disruption, right? And the change organization, change management and people management, and there are layers of people in an organization, right? Maybe it's very important to have an exec sponsor drive this initiative, but it's also very important for us to get buying from an individual uh, who is delivering this service to the customer, who is enabling this from IT perspective, and so on and so forth, right? So the whole piece of hyper collaboration, organization, change management is of course important. The other challenge, which I see a big challenge, is the gestation period and a return on investments, on digital, right? Uh, People will have finite dollars. They will need iterative, progressive, they will need to see the impact iteratively and progressively. They will have finite patience. But when it comes to our AI/ML engines, they need their time to train, right? So it's in a way, it's in a way contradictory, right? You want the technology to give your technology the time to show impact, and the exec sponsor of the initiative will have finite dollars and would want to internally showcase the transformation as it goes. So one of the most important challenges, it gets you to this complex program management of these initiatives. And what GlobalLogic says is it doesn't claim that digital transformation initiatives will not fail. In fact, we know there is high failure rate on some of these initiatives. What GlobalLogic says is, can we be better than others by a certain percentage point because of the repeatability of the process and because of the deep engineering and design expertise that we bring to the table, right? So in my view, generically looking at it, the challenge is the process of transformation very measurable? Can I measure what is the impact going to be in the next few months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months, and the next 12 months? And how do you translate that into measurable KPIs for business, right? I think our ability as consultants to do that will help us create better buying and then take this transformation smoothly on ground. So that's one of the challenge. I mean, easier said than done, I would say.
True, absolutely. Thanks, Vikram. Kunal, your thoughts on challenges
Yeah,
that you face? Yeah.
yeah, and I think I'll complete this circle back and come back to
Yeah.
my opening points itself. So I think I put in 4 buckets. The first one is flexibility. There are abundance of choices today, and so many choices and options to implement anything. I think something you need to be mindful of is lock-ins. You've reached where we have reached, but you need to be able to make sure that you're not locked into a single technology stack platform provider, because it's no longer running in your data center, it's running somewhere outside. So I think flexibility is key. I think second one is, there's a trade-off between fast versus right. You need to get to market fast, but are you doing the right things? And what are you giving up? And so therefore, as I said, technology, user experience, portability, you don't take all 5, 6 aspects and go to, you can't go fast. So you need to start looking at what's in your backlog and start cleaning that up. So I think there's that trade-off, fast versus right, which is a challenge. We heard about the people. Obviously, people need to change and adopt new ways of working, processes, etc. Transformation of the business also means transformation of the people. Unless you transform that, the ways of working will not change. I think the future is also going to be about, we need to start thinking about coming out of the OPEX world into the CAPEX world, and what does that mean from a run perspective? Traditionally, run meant, application management in large AMCs, in APMs, but it's not that anymore, because you are paying every month, every minute, every second to consume services which are true dollars going out. You're not amortizing, OPEX spends, CAPEX spends over a 5-year period and saying, okay, I've now sweated my asset. So when you look at the ongoing OPEX from a product perspective, to see how do I build in support so that my CIO can reduce costs, right? If we don't do that as engineers, the CIO will not be able to reduce the cost when he's talking to his providers. So I think ongoing cost management is going to be far more important, and it's not going to be just a quote unquote business as usual run. And then you're going to, you have to continually see how you can use various techniques for, optimizing both the support cost as well as the infrastructure which you're using. And I think that's going to be, that is an emerging challenge. And we've had some very interesting conversations with some of our customers who are now thinking of, hey, what do I do now? Do I move to another cloud? Where do I go from here? And so those are going to be important questions which we answer, because now you've given them the flexibility. The promise of cloud was that flexibility and the portability, and now you have to live up to that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Keerthi, with your experience working with the GCCs, now, what do you think are some of the challenges that companies face while, undergoing this digital transformation process?
I'll go to the fundamental, or rather the root of what do we want to do where and why.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the first question to answer, and that's where at least we spend our time with clients when they start, right? Because there is plethora of technologies out there, like Kunaal was referring to, right? And many instances we see solution searching for problems, right? When there isn't anything to solve, you don't have to solve. And also the other way around, I think the biggest challenge that we see is the domain depth, right? Or the sectoral gravitas that is needed. I think Vikram touched upon that point when he said design-led engineering. So engineering for what, right? It needs to be more purpose-driven. What is the context in which we are trying to do, and then see what are those enabling technologies that can come in, right? I think we have, and I mean, I'll take a macro view here from India perspective. I think we have shown extremely well as technology capital, and I think which we will continue to do. And like the saying goes, what gets you here will not get you there. I think we are probably at that point where we need to start now. We have gone broader. I think it's time to go deeper, specialize, and be called out for certain areas and be positioned for that, right? I think that's one big thing that I see. And second thing is, with more digital engineering coming in, comes in the aspect of data protection and privacy also. Probably another panel that will be needed. It's a topic and world in itself. I think that's an area where I think as a nation also, I think we need to focus more on. I think the rest of it, I think largely Kunaal and Vikram covered as part of, from an organizational standpoint. I think from a macro perspective, these would be it, I think, to start with. And I earlier spoke about the quantity part, I think, which we have cracked extremely well. I think the quality part, and I think some of the practices Kunaal and Vikram spoke about, I think that needs to proliferate more across organizations. Yeah, that will kind of up our game. And if I were to sum it up, I think as doers and optimizers, we have been absolutely fantastic and great. I think it's time to up the ante on becoming more thinkers and influencers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what a wonderful way to end that discussion as well. And this was particularly very, very, very insightful. So thank you, Keerthi, Vikram, and Kunaal for joining today. and sharing these very, very keen insights. It was like very, very insightful. So yeah, that's it. That's it from this edition of Tech Talks, and stay tuned for more insightful discussions happening in the Indian tech industry with Nasscom Insights YouTube channel. Please like, share, subscribe. So till then, it's goodbye from everyone here. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.